Ladies and people who are a little bit scared. Andy here. I went from depressed and suicidal to living a life of joy and abundance. If I can do it, you sure as hell can too. A month ago in December, I made a video called I Was Terrified to Post This, and I talked about how I'm moving my coaching or my one-on-one coaching more in a direction of helping people more long-term and going completely all in and just being crazy and like going crazy on goals. And so as part of that future vision that I have for my life and how I help people, I moved my coaching, I changed my coaching to move it more in the direction of doing 6 months or a year of just hardcore coaching with someone, like mentoring that person one-on-one, going all in with their goals and just going crazy with them. And in this video, I talked about how much this terrified me, how this was something that I was really scared to do, really scared to move in that direction. I talked about my fears around it, right? And I challenged all of you to tell me the things that are scared or that you are scared of, the things that terrify you, the things that make you kind of go, I don't know if I'm allowed to have this. We got some amazing replies. I've done a lot of videos, and if you go and check my Spotify podcast where I have separate content, you'll see I've answered a lot of the questions on there. I really appreciate everybody who's shared. And today we're going to go through and answer 3 more. We've got a couple of short ones and then a longer one. Let's get straight into it. So one of my old coaching clients here, this guy is Australian, hence why he calls me the C word. Merry Christmas, you bald-headed. Do you guys want me to say the word? You want me to do the word. You want me to say the thing, don't you? You want me to say the word. Okay, cunt. You bald-headed cunt. And this is how Australians talk to each other, by the way. We walk around just constantly saying the word cunt. It's a greeting. Settling down and starting a family would be my biggest goal, but the one that terrifies me possibly even more would be having a crack at starting a business. I have a phobia of losing money. This one comes up sometimes where people will say, I want to start this business, but I'm worried it's going to cost something, or I'm worried I'm going to lose money, or what if I put in all this money or this effort or this time and it doesn't pay off? I get kind of where it's coming from, but like there's so many businesses that you can start, or there's so many ways of making money. I prefer to call it like a side hustle, or because I think that takes a little bit of the pressure off. You're not starting a business. A lot of the time when people have a big fear around something, especially starting a business, the easiest or the reason they have such a big fear there is because they've built it up into this massive mountain, right? And they're telling themselves, oh, I have to start a business. I have to run a business. And then you'll kind of extrapolate from there and you'll go, and it has to eventually support me, and it has to get me my wife and kids and all of that. And it's like, that's too much pressure. What if we just halve that, divide it like a business, literally cut it in half? What's that now? Well, that's a side hustle. What if we just do that? What if we aim for a side hustle? What if we cut even that in half again, and we say, what if I just tried to make $1? This is something that I get. I've had a few coaching clients like that I'm working with right now, where they came to me saying, can you please help me start a business? I have no idea what I want to do. I have no idea if I have anything of value to give to any other human being who would then say, hey, here's some money in exchange. But what I drilled into their head was, your only mission is to earn $1. It's not to start a business or have a big side hustle or support a wife and kids in the future. That's thinking too long term. That's scary. That shit's going to terrify you. That's like if someone came to me or to us or to you or whatever and said, I want to start meeting women. And then you're like, all right, okay, so I need you to go and talk to that woman over there and just be super confident, super smooth, just tell her she's real sexy and just say like, yo, hey, do you want to come back to my place? And then just take her back to your place if she says yes, like, and have sex and just give her the best night of her life and give her the most amazing sex ever. Tie her up, do some BDSM, have a great time. She'll have a great time. Go. You said that to a guy, he's going to shit his pants and go, I can't do all that. That's scary. What are you talking about? I don't even know if I can walk up to a woman and say, hello, nice shoes. I might die if I try that. And so the same thing here with a lot of like, when a lot of guys want, or a lot of people want to start like a business or something, they'll kind of give themselves they'll pile all this pressure onto themselves and say, okay, I have to start an amazing business and it has to eventually make money. And here's the other thing that people say, I have to know exactly what kind of business I want to run. And I have to know that I'm going to want to do it 10 years from now. And I have to pick the thing that I'm passionate about, as if you could, ever know such a thing before you've actually tried it. You're putting all this sort of pressure on yourself. And so anyone out there who's thinking like, oh, I want to start a business, but I'm scared. I'm scared of losing money, or I'm scared of not knowing what I would do. I'm scared of blah, 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 blah. I've done a couple of podcasts recently on my channel, and there's a couple more that'll be coming out. So on Spotify, there'll be a couple more coming out soon about like finding your passion when you don't know what your passion is. Like, do you even need to find a passion when it comes to like starting a business or something like that? And my answer is honestly, like, if you know what you want, or if you want to sit there and brainstorm and see if there is something you're passionate about, awesome. But a lot of the time, I think it's easier to just start. Like, to just start getting your head right, almost like you're doing warm-up drills, getting your head right, and in the space of like, people might give me money if I have something to give. And so, honestly, like, it's kind of like we do approach anxiety drills. If you're a guy and you want to start talking to women, what do? We say, go outside and just start complimenting some women. Go outside and say hello to 5 women. Go outside and ask a couple of women for the time. Like, just start the process of like, oh, look, I'm a guy that goes outside and talks to a woman. And I think the same sort of mindset can be very helpful with business, right? So instead of saying, I want to start a business, which seems like scary to me, that seems terrifying. You've never done a business and you want to start a business? Holy crap. What if you were to just do a warm-up drill? What if you go outside, walk up to 10 people and say, hey, can I please have $1? You can tell a story if you want to. You can say, hey, I'm trying to show myself that I'm allowed to have money, or say whatever you want. I'm doing a social experiment, whatever the hell you want to say. But go up to 10 people and say, can I please have $1? And if one person gives you $1, oh my God, I am capable of making money outside of my job. I'm allowed to have money. And then from there, you can start you can do more of that. You can start building up more confidence. Maybe you can go up to people and say, if I make you smile, would you give me $2? And then they say, sure, okay. And then you go, I'm going to tell you a joke, and you tell them some shit joke, or you get a joke book and you start reading jokes out to people. Like, what you're essentially doing there is you're giving more value. You're giving them something more, so then they will go, hey, I'm going to reward you with more money. You've given me something, I would like to reciprocate and give you something, and then we both win. And you can keep just playing that game and increasing that value and giving more to them, entertaining them more, or doing something that is a service for them, doing something to help them. You see how if you just play this game of like, I walk up to a bunch of strangers and say, would you give me money if I give you something? Like, can I give you something, you give me something, we both win? Would you like to enter into this sort of like contract? It's not a contract, but like, would you like to enter into this value exchange with me? You do that with enough people, and it is just a numbers game. You see how that can keep increasing. You get to a point where you go up to people and say, I had one of my old coaching clients who would walk up to people and say, hey, for $5, he had a camera, for $5, if I take your portrait, will you give me $5? Then he'd ask a bunch of people, and I think 1 in 10 people would be like, sure, fine, yeah. He'd take their photo, they'd give him $5. He'd be like, what's your email address or your Instagram or whatever? I'll send it to you. He'd send them a picture. And he went around just doing that. While he was out there, so he was out there for another mission. He was out there to take photos for his Tinder, and just something clicked in his brain. He was like, fuck it, I may as well just ask random people if they'll give me money if I take their photo. And a bunch did. You can then climb higher than that. You could maybe take a softbox, which is just the light that I have on my face right now. You take some like decent photography equipment, and then you just go up to people and say, yo, hey, I'll take a semi-professional portrait of you for $10 right now. Does that sound good? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. Like, you ask 10 people, one will say yes. You ask 20 people, one will say yes. Now you're making $10 a pop. What if you then had something to give even more value? You'd be like, and I will Photoshop it for you, $15. Like, you see how you can quickly start giving more and more value. And then maybe in that you do that, they go, wow, that photo is amazing. Like, you send them the photo afterwards. They go, wow, that's amazing. And you go, yeah, I actually have a photography studio. If you want to come in sometime, photo shoots, like we got proper photo shoots, we got props, we got backdrops, we got lighting, photo shoots are like $50 for a session. How does that sound? You do that with enough people, some are going to go like, sure, that sounds great, yeah. Or I actually have a friend who would like that. Yeah, sure, I will send them your way. And you start building a photography business. I just invented that. Speaking to you right now on the air, I just made that shit up. I just gave you all a free fucking, business idea. Take it. Use that. Other things that some of my other friends have done is they will go door knocking on people's houses, like they'll just go door to door, knock on people's door and say, hey, do you need any chores done around the garden? Like, do you want me to rake the leaves for $5? Do you want me to clean your gutters for like $20? Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? Like, can I prune your fucking hedges? What can I do? Can I mow your lawn? I'll mow your lawn for $15. You knock on enough houses for $15, someone's going to be like, yeah, sure. It takes you like half an hour to do. You just made $15 in half an hour. Get really decent at it. Have a car, have a vehicle. Like, you keep just doing this, just door knocking. Like, yo, hey, $15. You get better and better. You practice. You learn the skills of how to actually maintain someone's garden or whatever. Before you know it, you're charging $50. Then you have a team, and now you're charging more. Now you have a company vehicle. Now you can afford pamphlets. Now you can afford to start paying for marketing. I have a bunch of friends who are earning like six figures, like hundreds of thousands of dollars from this. Per month, if that wasn't clear. Hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. From this shit. From just, they started cleaning people's fucking windows, or cleaning people's driveways, or doing gardening, or cleaning their gutters, or like whatever it is. And they just started from the very bottom, the ground floor, door knocking, saying, yo, hey, if I clean your house, would you give me a couple of dollars? You see how like you can quickly build a business by just starting like, I want to earn $1, and then it becomes a business. How did I start this coaching? I just started helping people. I wasn't thinking like I need to start a business. That would have terrified me. What I told myself at the start is if I can just earn $1 from any of my content, that would be amazing. And then I just built from there. So it's about sort of like lowering yourself down and humbling yourself, or taking the pressure off yourself, being kinder to yourself, you know what I mean? And not having that sort of like arrogance of like, oh man, or that pressure. It's not arrogance. It's like pressure, right? Like, oh, I have to be able to do all of this. It's like, no, you don't. Just start by earning $1. And we could sit here and brainstorm. You know, if all of you right now, leave a comment. Why don't we do this? Everyone listening, leave a comment. If you want to. Leave a comment suggesting like a way that you could make $1. And I'll go in and I'll reply. I promise I'll reply to everyone. And I'll show you how you could scale that to like $100. Like $100 an hour, or $100 per service, or whatever. Like I'll show you how to 100 times the thing that would make you $1. Right? Anything you want, any idea that you want to come up with, even something silly like I would have a lemonade stand and I would sell lemonade for $1. I will invent a way, and I can't guarantee it'll work, but I will throw out some ways that you could scale that up to $100. And you can all not steal, but use any of those business ideas. That's kind of the point. When you understand, when you lower the bar and say, all I have to do is earn $1, there's now infinite business opportunities in front of you. Because you can earn $1 from almost anything. You could literally walk up to strangers on the street, like I said before, and just tell them a joke for $1. Get really good at your jokes, and then you can charge $5. You can then start getting a bit cocky with it, and you can go around really rich neighborhoods and door knock, or just out on the street or whatever, really ritzy, rich neighborhoods, and you say, yo, hey, would you like to play a game with me? You have like a little routine that you do, right? And they're like, what's the game? And then you're like, okay, you seem like a pretty serious person. I'm pretty fucking funny. You might not know that yet. I'm like world-class funny, right? All my friends tell me I'm funny all the time, okay? You look very serious. If I can make you crack a smile, you have to give me $50. If you don't smile, I will give you $50. How does that sound? And you're going to get a lot of people going like, all right, deal then. And obviously, like, you would have to work up to this level where you're good at telling jokes. But you would get to a point where I think you'd win that bet more often than you'd lose it. You'd lose sometimes. I don't know how often you'd lose. But I think if you practice telling jokes enough by just going up to a bunch of people and asking for $1 if you tell them a good joke and make them smile, I think you can get pretty good at joke telling. You will just like hone your craft. You're essentially being a stand-up comedian, but just on the street. And then take that bet. I think you'll win that bet. All you're aiming for is winning that bet like 55% of the time or 60% of the time. Those are good odds. Let alone if you can be funny enough to make people laugh 75% of the time they take that bet. Holy shit. And then just raise the stakes. I don't know how high those stakes go. Maybe you could say, give me $200 if I make you laugh. And I will give you $200 if I can't make you laugh. And maybe you give yourself, rather than one joke, you say, I get 1 minute to try and make you laugh. How's that? You ask enough people, some of those people will take a bet because they're like, all right, you cocky fuck, let's go then. Let's take this bet. Come on then. Like, do you say, like, that's a business. I just gave you a business idea. That's a hustle. Walk around doing that all day. Like, hey, you probably make a couple hundred. You might make 1,000. You might make fucking $5,000 a day. I don't know how this guy's limit. I have no idea. I haven't tested this, have I? That's the point. Go out and test this stuff. So, yeah, I would take a lot of the pressure off. A lot of people put this pressure on themselves to like, I have to start a business. It's like, no, you don't. Just go out and make $1 and then expand it from there. That's all I ever did. I just tried to make $1. It took me a long time, like 2 years, because I was insecure and I didn't actually try. But when I actually tried, it wasn't that hard. So it won't take you guys 2 years if that's not clear. But yeah. All right. Next one is from my forums by a guy with the username Squilliam. I believe it's Squilliam. Good guy. He hustles a lot. So let's answer his question here. Maybe we'll make this a little bit smaller, but he said his biggest fear is definitely cold approach. So if you have no idea what cold approach is, basically walking up to women that you don't know and saying, hi, you're cute. Do you want to grab a drink with me sometime? You know, talking for a little bit. Meeting women you don't know. So he's scared of cold approach. I've gotten some lays from online. I think he means online dating. But I want the wholesomeness of picking up a girl off the street and taking her home. So wholesome. It would do wonders for my social skills and I would have so much more abundance. I plan to go out on the streets with Pancake. So Pancake is just one of the guys on our forums. Very prolific guy. He posts a lot. He gives a lot of value. He's doing the Lord's work. I want to go out on the street with Pancake at some point in the near future. In 2023, I want to be able to get consistent sex and have some level of abundance. Let's go. Yeah, I'll say the first thing I'll say is if you're going out with Pancake, that's Pancake absolutely knows what he's doing. So great person, great guy to go out with. In terms of like everything I could say to you, you already kind of know. Like, just go out on the front lines, just go outside and talk to women. Women are so unbelievably nice. They're so gentle and kind and lovely, and they're going to pat you on the back and say, good job, like, hitting on us. Like, go talk to another woman, like, I'm not single, but go do this more. You're going to get some phone numbers. You're going to go on some dates, have an amazing time. And when you do eventually take her back to the bedroom and you two have a fabulous, kinky, crazy time together, you're going to have that sort of knowledge that, like, you made this happen. This was entirely you. She didn't know you existed as a human being before you walked up to her on the street. Everything that happened, like from, meeting her, talking to her, the date, going back, having sex, like all of that, and everything that happens afterwards, like however long you guys see each other, you'll know that was all entirely you. That was 100% you. Like, obviously she participated in it, but like, you made that happen. You plucked that out of thin air. And that is something that is quite special to show yourself. You're basically showing yourself that you have like power. You're not a victim. Like, you have choice, you have options, you have abundance, you have power. You have the ability to go out and make something happen if you want to, if you're willing to take the action and put in the effort and the time. And so that really does sort of, I'm going to tie it into the business question that we just had. It really does show you that anything you want in life, you're allowed to have. As long as you're willing to put in the effort or do whatever is required, because there are requirements sometimes, right? As long as you're willing to do that, you're allowed to have whatever you want. So, yeah, I have very fond memories of the women that I met on the street. I've told all the stories. They're all on my website. You can just go on my website and search for sex stories where I talk about them. Yeah, it was a lot of like really nice memories. Like the first girl that I ever met and went on dates with and had sex with from talking, on the street. Man, like, she was this really sweet Asian girl, and she had these big, like, nerdy glasses, and she was just so adorable. And she'd only just come to the country, like, a couple weeks ago, like, weeks before I started talking to her. And she was, like, an international Chinese university student, and her English was, like, broken. And on the first date, first of all, when I first hit on her, like, she didn't even know what I was doing. And she's like, cute, what you mean cute? And I was like, you're cute. And I was, like, trying to explain to her that she was cute. And she's like, what this means? And I was like, how do I explain this? And I was like, cute, you're cute. And then finally she like, it clicked and her face just like lit up and she was so happy and she was just so like full of joy. And she was like, she basically threw her phone number at me and we went on this date. Like the first date we went on, we just sat there and she like wrote down a bunch of like Chinese translations for what I was writing. I said like, how do I swear in Chinese? how do I say this in Chinese? How do I say asshole in Chinese? Like, and she was just writing down the characters for me, and it was really fun. And I remember afterwards, at the end, she gives me a big hug, and then she leaves. And after the date, she texts me and she goes like, I'm so glad I met you. Like, you're a good friend. And I was like, oh shit, I've been friend zoned. Like, and yeah, something inside me was like, maybe she just doesn't understand English. Like, maybe she doesn't know how to say it. So she's just saying like, she doesn't mean anything by that. And so, I texted her and I was like, yo, hey, I want to meet up, but this time like for a drink. Will you have a drink with me, like a date? And she was like super keen. So went and had a drink, and I tried to kiss her, and she was like really shy, but she was like giggly, and she held my hand, but she just didn't want to kiss in public. And then we went on a third date and she kissed me. And then the fourth date, we ended up going back and having sex, and she was so adorable. She was like really terrified when we had sex. Like, when we went to have sex, she was like really scared. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, she was like legitimately freaking out. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, are you okay? Like, why are you freaking out? And she's like, she points to my dick and she's like, scary. And I was like, I'm looking at my dick and I'm like, what's wrong with my dick? Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, is there something wrong with my dick? Is it scary? And then she goes, too big. And for Andy, who was at that point in my self-improvement journey, that was like the ego stroke and the validation of a lifetime. That girl like immediately took me from like, I don't feel very confident in myself to like, in that one statement, like, your dick is scary, too big. And I don't have a massive dick, by the way. It's just a normal average sized dick. But like, from this cute little Asian girl, maybe all dicks look big if you're small and tight and inexperienced. But yeah, that was like, that made me simultaneously laugh and smile and like, oh my God, like, I love this girl. Like, what the hell? And so the sex ended up being great. Like, we had to go very gentle, but like, yeah, that was just a hilarious story. That's just the first girl that I ever did this stuff with. I could list, every other story and like the memories that you have from doing something like this. And she'll have the memories too. She'll ask you questions like, do you do this very often? How did you even do this? How did you get the confidence to do this? Weren't you scared to hit on me? Like, what the hell? How did you do? Like, she'll have most girls or a lot of girls will have a lot of questions, and it's a lot of fun to kind of go through that and just be like, no, I haven't done this a lot. Or as you get to do it more, you're like, yeah, I do this sometimes. Or yeah, I do this a lot, like wherever you're at. But yeah, it's just like a really nice memory for both of you. So definitely do it. You already know how to do it. Especially if you're going to go out with Pancake, like, holy crap, like, he's going to push you like crazy. Like, he will. Definitely milk him for all he's worth. Figuratively speaking. You can milk him literally if you want to. I don't know if he's into that. You'd have to ask him. Ask for consent before you milk another man, okay? But yeah, Pancake would be a great guy to go out with doing this stuff. All right, third one. Third one's a big one. This is from one of my coaching clients. And he shared a hell of a lot here. There's a lot here. So I'm kind of going to blast through it. And I'll give my thoughts as I go. So, he's talking about the things that he's scared of. I want a full financial independence to the point of not having to think about money anymore. For me, being able to travel and be where I want in the world, experience what I want, and share it freely with whomever I want. So that's what he wants. What he's terrified of. I'm terrified of me not putting in enough effort to make it happen. This is a pretty common one. Like, a lot of guys don't trust themselves because in the past, for most of us, right, in the past, before we found self-improvement, before we started improving ourselves and working towards our goals, we weren't, like, we were doing stuff, but we didn't understand certain things about, like, motivation. We didn't even have goals for a lot of us, so we weren't even doing self-improvement. Like, we didn't have anywhere we were going or anywhere we were headed. We didn't understand a lot of concepts of like how to be efficient, how to plan for goals, how to make them happen, how to get feedback, how to have a support network, how to even set the goals. Like, we don't understand most of those concepts. Most people don't understand those concepts until they like actually get into setting a goal, right? Like no one's showed us. Like, you don't get taught that. So a lot of guys, when they are into their self-improvement, they're sort of worried that they'll go back to the old person that they used to be. It's a very common like fear that I hear all the time. This guy in particular, he's one of my coaching clients right now. He had a lot of fears in the first couple of weeks, the first couple of months of the coaching. He was terrified that he would like go back to the old version of himself. And you've heard other guys that I've had on the podcast, such as Ravi, talk about the same thing, that he was scared of like, what if I go back to the old me? For a little while, in the early days, like, this is 5 or 6 or 7 years ago or whatever, I had fears of like, what if I go back to the old me? What if I slip? I was very closed off with women because my first 2 relationships, I've talked about them in the past, had a decent amount of violence in them. They weren't particularly loving. Like the relationship wasn't. I wasn't loving. The girls weren't loving. It wasn't particularly kind. None of us were kind to each other. And I had a lot of fears at the start of my self-improvement journey of like, what if I go back to that? What if I let a woman just walk all over me? What if I become angry again, like the way that I was back then? What if they become angry and we just hate each other? What if we slip back into that? And so for a lot of guys, there's this fear of like going back to the old you that you used to be. But it can be very helpful to remind yourself that you're not the old you. You're the person that has found self-improvement. And even if you're early in your journey, if any of you listening are early in your journey, you at least now have a map, like a roadmap of where to go, of like what to point towards. You have some ideas of like what you might want and how you might want to achieve them. Another thing that can really help is to set up like a support network. One thing that I get every single one of my coaching clients to do is to have an accountability partner in the coaching group, like someone other than me, as well as the rest of the coaching group already supporting them as well. But to find one accountability partner who they meet with once a week on Zoom and they just keep each other accountable. I have a couple of accountability partners myself. My friend Cam is one of them. Imi, my girlfriend, is another one of them. I have like one coach at the moment, but another coach that I use when I feel like it. I do one-on-one calls with him whenever I feel like it. And then I have a group of like, I think there's like 12 people in the group. So another 12 people. So whatever that adds up to be, I don't know, like 15 or 16 account. And then I guess I have my friend Tim as well. And then like my friend Jimmy as well. So I got a fair few like accountability partners. But the more people you can surround yourself by that want you to succeed with your goals or want you to be a better man or a better woman, the easier this is. Because then you're not putting all the pressure on yourself to change, to not go back to the old you. Because all of those people that you've surrounded yourself by, they won't let you slip back. They care about you too much. They want you to win. It's in their best interest for you to win because then you can help them win. And so they don't want you to slip back to the old you. So surrounding yourself by people that will have your back and push you with your goals and keep you on track and not let you slip. That's the easiest way to do this. That can be friends, that can be accountability partners. If right now you don't have anyone, obviously I have coaching. There's a link in the description below to that. If you don't have any money for that or you don't want to, do coaching with me, there's my forums, completely free. Jump on there and get some accountability. But like, I would surround yourself by people. And this guy has plenty of people now. Next thing he's afraid of is, I'm afraid of taking too long to reach it, so I won't have time left to fully experience the reward. This guy's in his 30s. I think he's in his 30s. He's either in his 30s or close to them. I have a feeling he's in his 30s, whatever. Most of my clients are late 20s to 30s and a couple outside of that. But yeah, usually late 20s to mid 30s is most of you guys. And this comes up quite a lot. This is a very common one. Like even guys in their early 20s will worry about like, man, I won't have time left to fully experience the reward. There's so much I can say to this, but like self-improvement happens a lot quicker than you think it will. And you never know how close you are to like some big breakthrough moments. And so for a lot of us, we sit there and we say, man, it could be like 10 years before I ever have this success. Look how slow my progress is. And then just almost every single time, 1 month later, that person will just have a breakthrough. And maybe they'll get a bunch of dates with women, or if they're going to the gym, suddenly they'll just understand how fucking consistency works, and they'll just be like, holy crap, I can go to the gym 5 days a week now. I get it. Oh my God, I can do this. Look at me. I'm doing it. Or they make some big breakthrough with their business or something. Maybe you listen to earlier in this podcast and you go, holy crap, I don't need to start a business. I could just go and make one person on the street laugh and then they'll give me $1. I can do that. I could door knock and clean people's driveways. Let me start right now. Like you have that big breakthrough, right? And you never know when that's coming. If I look back at all of the goals that I've worked on and everything I've done, I never knew I was about to have a breakthrough, like moments before I had it. Maybe I knew 5 minutes before a breakthrough that I was about to have it. But usually it's just as it's happening. And if you had asked me 1 hour before that, hey, do you know that you're like about to have a huge breakthrough and this is going to be a very like integral moment? This is going to be a very important moment. I would have said like, no, I'm months, years away from that moment. Every single time I've had a breakthrough, every single time I've had that massive moment, that moment of massive personal growth or a massive breakthrough or success or whatever you want to call it, every single time I haven't been able to predict it ever. And like I said, if you'd asked me an hour before, I'd say, no, I'm years away from that moment every time. And so you never really know how it seems very like random, and it is very random. And so you have to sort of trust in this process. Another thing to think about is, with the fear of like, I'm afraid I'll take too long to reach it, you can ask yourself, what's the alternative? Like, what other choice do you have but to do self-improvement? Are you really going to go back to the life that you had before? Are you going to go back to just not working on your goals, not improving yourself as a person? No. For most of us watching right now, you wouldn't be watching this content. It seems impossible to you to go back. You'd be like, no, I'd be miserable. I could do it for a couple of months, maybe a year if I drank a lot of whiskey and played video games and self-medicated, but that wouldn't last me very long. I'd eventually have to come back and start improving myself. Like, I don't think I could live the rest of my life not improving. So you don't have a choice. So it doesn't matter, like, it literally doesn't matter that you're afraid that it will take too long to reach it, because it's like, well, what the fuck else are you going to do with your time? Spend the rest of your life being afraid of not making it. Sure, do that if you want to. But regardless, you're going to be working on your self-improvement. So you can do that full of fear if you want to. That's perfectly fine. Or you can step up into some courage and try and let that go. And there's plenty of books that can help with this. Letting Go by David Hawkins can help with this. Loving What Is by Byron Katie can help with this. You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought by Peter McWilliams can help with this. The Happiness Trap, I forget the name of the author of that book. Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman, I think. There's a bunch of these sort of like optimistic books, or books that will get your headspace right so that you're not sitting there in fear. But regardless of whether or not you address the fear, you're going to be working on your self-improvement anyway. So this is going to take care of itself anyway. As long as you show up every single day and don't quit, you will be successful. Every single one of you. There is no exception to that. Every single person who ever didn't make their goal, they quit. That's it. If you just don't quit, if you never, ever quit, you will make it. Success is inevitable. It is guaranteed if you don't quit. He is also afraid of being miserable in the process of reaching it. Okay, so that's a good one, yeah. And that's entirely under all of your controls. And when you're this self-aware like this guy is, and again, I'm coaching him, I know him very well, when you're this aware of your own fears and you're worried about being miserable, the fact that you guys understand that you don't want to be miserable while you work on your goals, the fact you understand it means that you won't be miserable while you work on your goals. You might be for a little bit until you figure out how to be happy and how to not suffer while you reach your goals, which I've done videos on. So you can just search my channel just search for the word suffer. And I did a video called How to Not Suffer While You Reach Your Goals. And then another one which was called suffering is optional. I've done a few, right? And there's more on my Spotify podcast as well. So search on there. But if you understand that you don't want to suffer and you don't want to be miserable in this self-improvement process, that alone means that you will solve the problem. I don't know when, I don't know how long it will take you, I don't know exactly what you'll have to do to solve it, but the fact that it's even on your mind and you're cognizant of the fact that you could choose to suffer or you could be miserable, but you'd rather not, you don't want to, the fact that you are so afraid of being miserable means that you'll solve the problem. If you weren't afraid of it, you probably wouldn't solve it. You wouldn't even know. You'd just be like, oh, I thought you had to be miserable while you worked on goals. I thought that's just what you had to do. The fact that you are afraid of it, and a lot of you are afraid of this one, that's a beautiful thing, because that means that you will work on it and solve it, and every problem has a solution. He goes on to say he's terrified to not have a stable job at some point. Well, that's easy. You don't need a stable job. You'll get the stable job that you need. If I had a gun to your head, and everyone listening, if I put a gun to your head and said, I will shoot you unless you have a stable job, you would walk out right side and just go up to random people and be like, yo, I need a stable job right now or I'm going to fucking die. Don't let me die. Please give me a stable job. Like, you'd solve that problem. And so if push really comes to shove and you really need a stable job, trust that you'll get one. You're the master of your own fate. You're the captain of your destiny. Like, you will get a stable job. If not, you'll sit outside And some of these fears, it's worth like investigating what's the worst that will happen. The worst thing that will happen if any of you don't have a stable job is you will sit outside on the ground with a piece of cardboard and a pen, and you will write down, "I'm homeless, can I please have some money?" And people will walk past you and give you money and give you food. I walked past a homeless guy today and I watched a lady give him a bag of food, literally. And so people will give you food, they will give you money, they will give you coffee, they will give you a home if you really need it, they will give you whatever you need. They will provide for you. You might have to sleep in a park here and there. Might be a little dangerous, but hey, it might be an adventure. It's all in the mindset. And so people will look after you. And that's without you even hustling. If you hustle, if you're homeless and you walk up to people and be like, "Yo, hey, I'm homeless. Please don't let me sleep on the street tonight. Can I please have $5? Holy shit, people are going to give you $5. I once met a guy in my old city who was, homeless at the time, but he was like hustling like hell. Like he literally came up to me and he had this story, came up to me and my friends and he's like, "Yo, hey, so listen, I'm homeless, but it's not what you think. Blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to get a job. Blah, 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 blah. I want to do this, blah, 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 blah. Is there anything you can do to help me?" And I was like, "Bro, have fucking $20, dude. Like, do you want me to look at your resume, dog? Like, can I help you, man? Can I drive?" I didn't drive, but I was like, "Can we drive you anywhere, man? Like, is there anything we can do for you, dude? Like, we don't want you to be homeless, man. You seem like a fucking grinder. I want to help you because you're out here like grinding, man." And so if you are, like the worst case scenario, if the worst case scenario happens and you do become or you are homeless, you'll just ask for money and you'll get money. Like you're not gonna sit there and just completely give up. You're afraid of something that won't happen. Most of you listening, you're not gonna just become homeless and sit there and then like sleep in a park, right? You're gonna not have your stable job. You're gonna need money. You're gonna either stay with friends, or if you don't have friends, you'll go onto couchsurfing.com and you'll try and find someone who'll let you sleep on their couch for free. Or if you're not gonna do that, you'll just go up to random people and be like, "Yo, can I please have some money? Because I need a room tonight." And you will quickly get your shit together, and you will get a job. You go up to every fucking cafe. You will have all the free time in the world because now you don't have a job. And you'll spend 16 hours a day asking people for a job. Someone will give you a job if you spend 16 hours a day asking for one. And if not, you'll walk around the streets for 16 hours asking for money. You'll make $1,000 in your first day if you really hustle, And so you're essentially afraid of something that isn't possible for you. He goes on to say, "I'm terrified of failing at some point and being forced to return back to my country." Like what I would do, any of you that have like a big fear like this is, again, I would map out the steps that you would take if you were to so-called fail, and then come up with some solutions. Like what solutions would you have if any of that were to happen? And what you usually find is like, at the first sign of this process starting, of me like failing, at the very first sign, I would fix it because I don't want to fail. I'm not the person that wants to fail. I would fix it. I would do whatever it takes. I would ask for help. I would scream out to the forums. I would beg Andy, "Dude, help. Man, fucking help me. Can you broadcast my message?" That's an option, by the way. Can you broadcast my message, man? Can you please do a video right now? Or can you post on the forums or something? Can you please, I don't know, set up a GoFundMe or something? Help. I need money. Help. Please. They're going to send me back to my country. Help. Like you'd ask for help. And we, the community, would do something. Other people would do so. Everyone would jump in and do something. I'd do something. So yeah, a lot of these things, when we have a big fear, it's worth sort of getting in there and saying, okay, if this fear came true, or if this fear started looking like it might come true, what would I do? What action would I take? And you realize there's a lot of solutions and a lot of stuff that you could do to make sure it doesn't happen. Again, you're the master of your fate. You're the captain of your destiny. You're not a helpless victim. And I don't think this guy is being a victim, by the way. He's expressing all his fears. I really love that. It's courageous. He goes on to say, "I'm afraid it's going to be lonely on the way there. It might be at times, that I won't be able to share my time and resources with people I want close to me. It depends who you want close to you. Of not having anyone around who could appreciate it with me." So this guy has, since writing this, found out that that's definitely not true, because he's met a couple of girls that have been very like open with self-improvement and stuff. So that's been good. But yeah, if any of you listening are sort of thinking like, "Oh man, like there's no one around me that will understand this stuff," go on my forums. Post a comment in the YouTube below. Please don't just sit there and like feel lonely. Please post a comment, right? And we'll all jump in and we'll be like, "Yo, hey, we got your back. Like, don't stress. Like, We're here for you. Like, please don't feel lonely when there's an entire community of people around you that would not let you feel lonely and would love to share your victories. That's what my forums are. That's what my coaching programs are. That's what the YouTube comments are. Like, it's a bunch of people that'll get around you and just be like, yo, hey, like, we're glad you're working on your self-improvement. Let us help you. Let us boost you. Let us push you. Let us help you grow. Share with us. We want to. So, yeah, a lot of these fears, once we start looking for solutions, they lose a lot of the venom. They lose a lot of it's like we defang them. We take the claws and the fangs away, and they become a lot less scary, right? You come up with some solutions on how you'll solve them. So, he goes on to say, I'm afraid of people judging me all the way. Yeah, people will definitely judge you. So I did a video on that recently. By the time you all watch this, it should already be out on my YouTube channel. Let me see what it was called, just so I can remember and tell you guys. Okay, so I called it Scared of Negative Criticism / Hate. And yeah, I talked about, I in that video, and I recommend all of you watch that if you want to. I recommend you watch it even if you're not doing, I talked about content creation, but I talked about the general idea of like, you're worried that people might judge you. And one of the things that I said is, yeah, people will judge you. Anytime you're going against the grain, or doing something that a lot of people don't do, whether that's deciding that you want a better sex life, whether that is getting into some of the kinkier sex, like BDSM and stuff like that. Building a business is even something that a lot of people don't do. Caring about your body, deciding to cut out some friends who maybe aren't super good for you. Anytime you do a lot of this stuff, yeah, people will judge you for sure, because you're sticking your head above the crowd, and a lot of people will take that as like, oh, you must think you're better than us. And that can be kind of upsetting for people, right? And so, yeah, they will judge you because you're standing out. They'll say, how come you're standing over there when we're all standing over here? Do you think you're better than us? That's sort of the energy. So, yeah, you'll definitely get judged. Go and watch that video. I talk much more about like judgment and fear around that and all that sort of stuff. But, yeah, you're going to get judged for sure. The thing is that people judging you does make you stronger. It definitely does. It can hurt a little bit for a while. It can make you feel shame and fear and all of that sort of stuff, but it is ultimately good for you if you allow it to happen, if you let it in, if you go, you know what, people are going to judge me. If you just don't fight it. The pain comes from fighting the judging. The actual suffering comes from the story of like, people shouldn't judge me. It's not fair. This is mean. They shouldn't do that. If you drop that story and just say like, yeah, people are going to judge me. Now at least you're being neutral. And it doesn't hurt as much. It still can hurt a little bit at the start, for sure. You do grow thicker skin, I promise. But if you just don't fight it and don't tell the story of like, they shouldn't do this, it's like, well, guess what? They do. Yeah, but they shouldn't. Okay, cool. Should we decide that the sun shouldn't shine today? We decide that it shouldn't rain just because you said so? People judge. That's what they do, man. That's what humans do. So, yeah, people are definitely going to judge you. But there's plenty of people that will be incredibly supportive and will love you. For every one person who will judge you, there'll be 10 people that love you or that encourage you or that want you to do that, especially if you surround yourself by positive people. And a lot of people or some people listening might not have that. Just go on my forums or hit me up for coaching or join my coaching programs or whatever. Leave a comment in the YouTube, like down below. Everyone's going to have your back. Everyone's super nice. I'm afraid of being too selfish and using the world to achieve this goal. It would be very hard to value myself if that happens. Yeah, so this is another one that comes up, right? Where guys have guilt or shame, right? You're basically saying where you're currently at in terms of how you view yourself. When you're worried that you're going to be selfish or that you're going to use the world or that you're going to hurt other people, you're basically saying that you don't think that you're worthwhile. You're in this metric. You think that you don't have some value to give. And you're stuck in the mindset of like, but what could I possibly have to give? How could I possibly help someone else or make their life better, right? I'm just a user. I'm selfish, or I'm worried about those things. And so there's plenty, like the first thing that I would get people to do is to realize that you all have inherent value. You all have inherent worth. You all have something of value that you can give. Plenty of things, but you have some value that you can give. Even if that's just smiling at a stranger, you just gave them something. Even if that's just saying good morning to someone, you just gave them something. Even if that's just shaking hands with a homeless person and saying, I hope you have a great day. That's giving a lot, actually. That's pretty big. You all have something a lot of things you can give. And so I would embrace the idea of what I talk about all the time, giving value. Instead of saying, I'm worried that I will take, which is what this is, that's a losing mindset. That's focusing on losing. That's going, oh my God, like what if I lose? That's like playing not to lose. No. We're here to win, remember. We're here to have a winning mindset, a winner's mindset. So focus on how you would win. Instead of saying, I'm worried that I will use the world, switch that and go, how would I give to the world? How can I make the world a little bit better? And you know what? That's too big a question. That's fucking huge. How can I make one person's life better? And I will help the person that is right in front of me right now. That's all I ever do. I'm not trying to change the fucking world. Maybe one day I'll get arrogant and egotistical enough to worry about that. But for now, it's like, which person is in front of me that needs help? I'm going to help that person. When I do a video, a general, like a concept or something, I'm thinking of like the one person that might listen to this. I'm thinking of like one person and how can I help that one person? And so focus on giving value, having a winning mindset, playing to win rather than playing not to lose. Play to win and say, how can I give value to the world? How can I give value to one person, the one person that's in front of me? How can I make their life just a little bit better? And I can't guarantee their life will be better. I can't force them to be happy that I interacted with them, but I can do my best. And I do that over a long enough time scale or enough people. And most people that I interact with will be better off having met me. Cool. Isn't that good? I gave my best. I did my best and I gave my best to give value. So switch that around and have more like a winning mindset. Focus on winning. So instead of I'm afraid of using the world or I'm afraid of using people, say, I'm excited to help people win. I'm excited to put some smiles on some faces. I'm excited to leave people better than I found them, better off after they met me. So just switch that one around. And to be clear, like, it comes from a really good place. It does. It's like coming from that place of like, it's just framed in the opposite. Do you get what I mean? Do you guys get what not you're going to fucking answer me, but like, rather than saying, I'm afraid of being too selfish, just say, I'm excited to be selfless. Or I'm afraid of using the world. It's like, I'm excited to fucking fully embrace and love the world. It would be hard to value myself if that happens. It's like, I'm excited to value myself more. Like, rather than saying, I'm scared that I will hurt myself, which is a really weird thing to worry about when you think about it. I'm so scared that I will hurt myself. It's like, then just don't hurt yourself. What are you talking about? But I'm so scared that I will hurt myself. It's like, then don't hurt yourself. Just love yourself then. Be kind to yourself. Be nice. Be gentle. Be good. What do you mean? Why would you hurt yourself? I'm so scared I'll punch myself in the face. It's like, then just don't punch yourself in the face. So yeah, we do this when we get fears, right? We get kind of caught up in like, I'm so scared this thing will happen. And it's like, then just don't do that thing. And in fact, run towards the opposite. Don't sit there and obsess about not being selfish. Run towards what you do want, which is, oh, I'll be selfless. Oh, I can just be kind. Oh, wow, I solved the problem. So yeah, like we get caught up in the negative, but switch it around and have like that positive. I'm afraid of succeeding. This one comes up quite a lot. Fear of success. So I did an actual podcast on this. I would go onto my Spotify channel and just search for success. It was quite a recent podcast where I talked about like a fear of success, right? It's very common. It comes up a lot with goals. It might sound funny if you've never considered it before. You're like, why would I be scared of succeeding? I want to succeed. It's that you're afraid of everything that might come with it. Because often in order to succeed, usually in order to succeed, you have to become a different person. Like you don't completely become a different person, but like you have to act a different way. You have to be a different way. You have to have a different mindset. You have to do things that maybe you didn't want to do, or like you felt like you didn't want to do them. You have to stop doing some things that maybe you're doing right now. You might have to cut out some addictions. Whatever it is. But a lot of the time there's a lot of growth and change. And what is change? Change is scary, or change can be scary, right? Humans are naturally, maybe all animals, but humans are naturally, or we're tempted to control and try and have control and like, no, I need to control the universe and control reality and, not be afraid. And so a fear of success is very normal because you're essentially afraid of change. Of you losing some of the things that right now you like playing video games or looking at porn or like whatever it might be, or you having to do some things that right now you don't have to worry about. And you're like, man, that's a lot of extra stuff I'm going to have to do. If I'm a millionaire, then, oh my God, like how would I pay taxes? And I'd have to learn how the tax code works, and I'd have to have an accountant, and people would probably have expectations of me. I'd probably have to wear a suit all the time. Oh my God. And what if someone tried to rob me and all my money? Like there's a lot of fear that can come from that. And ultimately everything will be okay. Ultimately none of that stuff is like really matters. It'll be fine. You'll figure out solutions, you'll make it work and all of that. But that's where a fear of success comes from. It's a fear of like change essentially. So he goes on to say, I'm afraid of succeeding, of this big goal of mine becoming so mundane and quotidian. Oh, that's a word I don't know. What is quotidian? What a beautiful word. I'm assuming I pronounced that correctly. I've never heard that word, quotidian. Of a occurring every day or daily. I've never heard that word. Guys, leave a comment below. Have you ever heard that word before? It means every day, occurring every day. What a fucking great word, quotidian. That is not what I would have thought that word meant. Man, god damn, what a beautiful word, quotidian. I'm afraid of it becoming mundane and quotidian. I'm going to use that word as often as I can after I reach it, that I stop valuing the goal and giving myself enough credit for having it in my life. Yeah, so essentially worried that you'll take it for granted. So easy solution right there. So again, like with a lot of fears we have, we're worried about like, oh, what if I lose? Like, how do I not lose? It's like, no, play to win. And so what would be a solution? You know, I'm always saying every problem has a solution. What would be the solution here? It would be, if you want to, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, put a fucking weekly reminder in your, calendar that comes up with a notification that goes, hey, spend 20 minutes today being grateful. This is something I do every single night. I have a reminder in my phone every night that goes, hey, sit there and think about things you're grateful for. And I'll come up with all the things I'm grateful for. And then on top of that, once a week with my girlfriend, Imi, we will do a check-in, like we'll check in with each other. And part of the questions that we ask each other is, what are you grateful for this week? What happened? What do you value? What are you grateful for? And then on top of that, I will do it like 100 times a day. And then you hear me do it on podcasts. I'm grateful for all of you. I really, really, really genuinely am. I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for lovely weather. I'm grateful for flowers. I'm grateful for this computer mouse. I'm grateful for this amazing laptop so I can record these podcasts. I'm grateful for this great microphone. Like, sit there and remind yourself, or give yourself reminders if you're worried that you'll forget. Put it in your phone or a calendar reminder or something, a notification that pops up and goes, yo, hey, have you been grateful for what's in your life? Or have you, in this case, have you given yourself enough credit for what you've done, essentially, which is the same. Credit and gratitude, pretty similar, right? Acknowledgement, I guess you would say. So remind yourself. Imi, in her car, has a couple of reminders. Like when she first gets in the car, they're on the ceiling and they say like, be present. And what does the other one say? I think it says like, smile daily, or is it like, be grateful? Something like that. It's some sort of reminder. And that's in her car. Every time she sits in, she'll look up and go, oh yeah, okay, I remember. So you can do stuff like that. I've seen people stick a sticky note on their bathroom mirror or on your computer laptop or whatever. Have a desktop wallpaper that says, yo, hey, give yourself credit for what you have in your life. Be grateful for what's in your life. You can get other friends to once a week, hey bro, let's sit down for 10 minutes or 5 minutes and just throw some gratitude at each other. Like, grateful for each other, grateful for everything in the world, grateful for everything we have, grateful for how far we've come, grateful for ourselves, grateful for our family, our friends, self-improvement, books, all of that kind of stuff. Just remind yourself. So that's that playing to win, right? Rather than being worried that you might lose or playing not to lose. It goes on to say, I'm scared of being or becoming complacent with all of this abundance and just indulging and spoiling myself. Yeah, so switch that around again into a winning mindset. And say, okay, how would I win there? Well, I just put reminders in my calendar to remind myself to be grateful and not be, and like think of all the abundance I have. Cool, done, problem solved. And so some people do this once a week. I do that. Other people might do this once a month. You might also want to do this daily, like I do. You might also want to do this once a year, like I do. How many? I got a bunch of you, right? I recommended to a bunch of you. Sit there and come up with a year in review where you go, hey, 2022 is over. Here's everything I'm grateful for. A lot of you commented and said like, holy shit, like I did the list. It was great. It was fun. Like it felt really good. Put that in your phone so you don't forget. Like once a year on January 31st or December 31st or December 30th or January 5th or January 2nd, whenever the hell you want to do it. I personally do it on New Year's Eve. So December 31st, like we'll do it during the daytime. Emmy and I will do it during the daytime, but use like technology, right? Use other people if they're willing to help you and you help them as well to remind you so that you're not sitting there going like, what if I become complacent? It's like, how could I become complacent? I have reminders in my phone to to help me remember. Like, why would I ever forget? Then you don't have to remember. Like, because I agree, if you didn't have calendar reminders, or you didn't have any notifications, or you had no one in your life to remind you and be like, hey, are you being grateful? Or you didn't have any sticky notes anywhere, like, yeah, you might forget. I might forget. At this point, I wouldn't. But in the early days of me building gratitude, which is a habit, by the way, it's a habit you build up, I would have forgotten to be I would have become complacent and forgotten to be grateful. I definitely would have. Very much I would have. So solve the problem. Use some technology. Get other people to help you if they're willing to, and you help them as well. Very, very, very easily solved. I'm afraid that I will become suspicious and worry about losing it all. Not 100% sure what he means by suspicious. I don't fully understand what he means by suspicious there. But in terms of like worrying about losing it all, sure, lots of people worry about that. But like, you're generally speaking, like, why would you ever go backwards in self-improvement? Like, you might have some setbacks, but they're not even setbacks. It's more like learning experiences. But like, you're not going to massively go back. A lot of guys like worry that they're going to go back to the old person that they used to be or something like that. Or like, what if I lose all of my money? What if I lose the ability to talk to women? What if I lose all my friends? It's like, then you'll just rebuild. In the early couple of years, and I still every now and then will get someone who'll ask me, and they'll say, Andy, what if YouTube like deletes your channel? Or what if YouTube shuts down? It's like, then I'll just rebuild on some other platform. What do you mean? I have Spotify, I have my blog, like I'm on Twitter now. Like, we have the forums. What do I care? I'll just rebuild. Like, what do I care? And so, as best you can, try and embrace the fact that you got to this point not completely by fluke. You took some action, you put in some effort, you learned a lot, all of you learned a lot to be exactly where you are right now. And that knowledge and the people that you've got around you now, and if you have nobody around you, hit me up for coaching. You can join my coaching groups or go on the forums, but get some people around you. Talk to some friends. If you don't have any friends, I have a guide on making friends. So, all that stuff is there. But when you have these people surrounding you, it's like, well, they will help me rebuild. So even if I was to lose everything, what would I care? And there's a really good quote from a poem. It's my favorite poem. It's called If by Rudyard Kipling. And it is my favorite poem ever. Man, I love this. And there's a really good line about how if you just lose it all, you just like get up and start again. I'll show it on the screen. Let me pull it up, because this quote is just like absolutely magical. Okay, so the quote, the part from the poem that I'm pointing out is, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it all on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose, and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. That's what we're talking about here. If you do get far into your self-improvement and you screw it all up, and which I don't even know why you would, but sure, setbacks happen. Again, they're not even setbacks. It's just part of your journey. You sit there and label it as a setback and go, oh my God, I've moved backwards. And it's like, how do you know? How do you know this won't be the best thing ever for you? If you want proof of that, write 10 reasons why this will be the best thing ever for you. Make it so. Write a list and go, hey, here's 10 reasons why this might actually turn out to be a good thing. This setback, so to speak, could turn out to be good for me. Write that list. Be brave enough to write that list. But, even if you did have a setback, if you want to call it that, which again it's not, you would just like start again. You just like pick up and keep going. Like, what other choice do you have? Like quitting? How would you ever, all of you listening, how would you even quit? What are you going to do? Just go drink whiskey and drink beers and smoke weed and, do crack and look at porn and play video games for the rest of your life, knowing that you could have improved, but you chose not to? You quit? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to be capable of quitting. You know how many people like go, oh, I'm going to quit, and then they just come back like a year later and they're like, oh my God, why did I leave? I can't quit. That was silly. So I will finish up. I'll tell you what I might do. Let's read this poem. So this is one of my favorite poems. It's quite long, but I'll read it out because this is just an amazing poem. It's a poem that this guy, Rudyard Kipling, wrote for his son. So he wrote this poem for his son. And when I read it, you're going to be like, holy crap. Imagine if you're this guy's son. This guy gives you this. Like, this is incredible. So I'll read it out. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build 'em up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose, and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.